All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Live Feature Rant. Today we have Adam actually out doing work stuff. He's a busy man now. He's doing manager stuff. So hit me up yesterday and let me know there'd be a vacancy. We initially had kind of filled a spot, and unfortunately they kind of disappeared. So we have we have a couple awesome people on here. I have Searial over on screen left here, who you might recognize from the, I believe, episode 8 of Live Feature Rant, the first time I had guests on any of my shows. And you might not actually recognize him because he didn't have a webcam then. I think it was just a screenshot. So,
Yeah, it might be hard to recognize me.
yep.
But this is the face of Searial. Hello,
Yeah.
everybody.
We're in a beard race, apparently.
You're winning.
I'm happy to not be in
Not
that
for
race.
long.
Yeah. All right. And why don't you kind of tell everybody what you're about real quick?
Well, sure. I'm Searial. I've been doing Landmark Alpha since day one. I've been playing games my entire life. It's just the sort of thing I love to do. And I've been recently getting back into Twitch. I had some unfortunate real life circumstances where I dealt with a home invasion and loads of property damage. It's a big mess. But we're back now, so we don't need to worry about that. And you can find me at Twitch/Serial. And hopefully we'll be getting a dedicated schedule up here real soon.
Nice.
As for now, it's just kind of when I'm around.
Yeah. Why don't you say something in chat there so people can follow you easier? Everybody, give Serial a follow. He's awesome. Hang out in his channel. He's a good dude. You'll like his follow sound when you're in his channel. I promise. I helped him pick it.
Yes. Thanks again for that.
Yeah. I think it works pretty well. And moving over to screen right. Noodlecat. Noodlecat is totally awesome, and also a former guest here on Live Feature Rant and Dead Feature Rant. So, yeah, why don't you give people a little bit of a little introduction to what you do and what you're up to, and then we'll get started with the content for the show here.
Cool. So to let you guys know, I'm Noodlecat. I'm sure many of you have seen my stream, as well as found me in Landmark in various places. I've been around in Landmark since Alpha, day 2 of Alpha. Yes, awesome. It's so much fun. Haven't been as much recently because my computer's not liking it very much, so it's pretty hard on my system at the moment. But other than that, streaming lots of stuff now. I stream 6 days a week, at the very least. And I'm also with Neuro on the, not same show, but we have one show right after the other for Who's Gaming Now.
Yep.
And I've got my viewer pick Saturdays, so we've got lots of cool stuff on my channel. I'm nuts. I'm always online, so if you can't find me, then I don't know, either I'm sleeping or someone needs to call an ambulance. So, so that is me. Hi guys. And I will say something in chat, so if you
Yep.
would, I love follows and I love the support, and I know a lot of you already have, so thank you.
Honestly, if anybody here isn't already following you, that's a real surprise. But then again, like you're quickly catching up to me, so there might still be a few people here who haven't yet. Right, so let's get into the content for the show here. So the first thing to talk about here, they kind of went into the, well actually the first thing just real quick, and we're actually going to talk about it a little bit later on. There's not an update this week, not today, not tomorrow. There's still the 5 a.m. server bounce like there always is, but no update. They've pushed back the schedule. We talked about it thoroughly last week, so if you want to know more about it, just follow up with last week's episode. So they've changed up. It sounds like they're changing up the heroic movement system to be based on an item that you actually use rather than item that you equip. And that was a weird way to phrase it, but I think basically what it sounds like is you aren't going to be putting on a trinket that adds a passive ability so much as some piece of attire that will enhance your movement or mobility. It might just be boots and foot related stuff, or maybe there'll be some other things, but they're changing it up in conjunction with the armor system coming up. So I'm guessing it's going to be, there'll probably still be some use and some benefit for wearing a lunar anklet, but it might be severely minimized compared to what it used to be and what it used to do. Because remember, that was an item that's been available as a as a giveaway for Landmark, and everybody's going to start Landmark open beta with it if they previously won one and entered the code. So, kind of some interesting stuff there. Searial, what were your thoughts, and how did you kind of understand the system to work? Because I'm
Sure.
still not 100% on it.
My interpretation of it, and I'm not sure if I like it. I always get a little confused and worried when they start changing things, and especially with this last Landmark Live, it sounds like they're trying to change everything. They want to try to retool everything. But as far as the passive movement goes, it kind of sounds to me as if, like, instead of equipping our lunar anklets in our equipment slot where they would be and just be used passively, it sounds as if we would have to equip them to the action bar and click, the designated button, whatever it be, 1 through 12, in order to activate it. And maybe I'm completely wrong, but that was my understanding of what they were saying.
You might be right.
Which is confusing. I get worried. We're still in beta, and there's tons of things that need to be fixed, but we're all getting used to this half a system that's implemented at the moment, and so we'll see what they actually do. But that was my understanding, is that it sounds like it will be something that is an activated ability or an activated item from the hotbar, which, if you're familiar with MMOs, you know how that sort of mechanic works.
Yeah, no, I am. But the other thing is, I don't know how much they want us playing the hotbar and playing the interface. And I personally like 1 to 5, okay, 6 maybe a little iffy, 7, 8, 9, 0, dash and equals. That's where it starts to get to the range where I have to actually move my hand to do the things I need to do, and I don't appreciate swapping.
You need one of these.
Yeah, well, actually, I have one, but I use one of these.
I have 2.
So having a trackball, they don't really
I couldn't
make
do trackball.
Yeah, I've been trying to hit up Razer to make a trackball, a performance gaming trackball, and they've been like, we talked about it internally in marketing, and
It's going to say that's probably not a big market for trackball.
There's probably a much bigger market than people think, especially if it actually becomes available.
True.
I mean, a lot of people whose carpals are starting to tunnel would probably be able to get some benefit to switching up. What, you like how
They would, if they made it, they
that.
would be the only one on the market with a trackball gaming mouse that
Yeah,
I know of.
they would be. This came from
I used to have
freaking China.
a fairly nice Logitech trackball mouse that I no longer have. That was quite a few years ago now. But it takes a while to get used to it. But it is very comfortable.
Was it a red marble or
the
a
name of
blue
it. Yeah,
marble?
big red,
Yes.
glittery marble.
Yeah, the Trackman. That was the most comfortable shape. The new one that they have
That was incredibly comfortable.
a lot less comfortable. But this is getting way off the subject of heroic movement.
Sure.
My apologies,
Actually, I
everybody.
need to grab another drink, if that's okay with everybody. I will be right back.
You goofball, you're supposed to do that in the pre-show. Go for it.
I drank the pre-show drink. We had too long of a
You
pre-show.
have 2 glasses.
Just
2
bring the whole
glasses.
beverage over. Drink the whole bottle.
Just the whole bottle, whatever.
That's what I do. All right.
So
The
heroic
Trackman
movement.
gave you carpal tunnel? Oh no, that's terrible.
Ooh.
That's no
Yeah, I'm
good.
waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. I actually have cysts on my ganglion nerves.
Ugh.
Ganglion cysts. It's nice. Yeah, tasty. So heroic movement. Yeah.
Heroic movement. So, that should be interesting. So, what do you think is the way it's actually going to work for the heroic movement system? Do you think it's
Um,
going to be an item? You think it's an equip? Um, do you think it's going to replace the grappling hook as the E button? They said at the
maybe, maybe. Depends on how many items we have too. I could not see having more than two or three. If we had more than that, it'd be way too complicated. But only having two abilities on the mouse, perfectly fine with it. And the reason I say that, as we've been talking lots lately about Neuro, I'm a mobile player. Everyone knows at least one or two of your items when you're playing leagues are gonna have an active ability, and you have to use them. So your item build is built in with something that affects what you do, and does have something that you use, and be it an ability that hits someone, or heal, whatever, movement speed, anything like that. So to me, having an item that has an active ability on it to use doesn't bother me at all, because I'm used to it. And I know a lot of people will not be used to that though, and it probably, if that's how they go, it might have a lot of backlash, because I don't think there's terribly much crossover from, like, leagues and Dota to EverQuest and Landmark. Um, but it's something that doesn't bother me in the slightest if they choose to go that way. But I don't think that they should have more than 2 to 3 items that you can use at one time, because it's going to get overly complicated if every single piece of gear you have has something you have to use, because then you'll start using just those instead of using your fighting abilities, or you're
yeah.
just going to have so many of them that something doesn't get used or gets lost, and there's no point to having those many or that many. So I'm cool with having the items have a use, just as long as it's kept to the kind of like MOBA style item use.
I get you. I get you. That's definitely a valid point. Having too many things, like when I played WoW, I had one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 toolbars, and each one had 12
8.
keys on it. 8? Was it 8?
I have 8. Well, I have 8 in
I was
mine.
running 12s.
I use 12 in EverQuest 2, which I still play
And I
from time to
have
time.
I have 2
I
separate
don't
sets
need
of
that
hot
many,
buttons.
but that's kind of the MMO mentality, though, isn't it? Like we just have buttons all over the screen, and eventually you start off at level 1, you have like 3 or 4 buttons. You reach max level, and you have more buttons than screen. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I just hope like double jump isn't an
That's
active ability. Like that
I
seems
really
so
hope not, but that's
weird.
kind of what it sounded like they were
But
saying.
I would understand something like a dash, or a slow on someone. Things like that, I would totally get, or like a movement speed boost. Things like that I would get as an active on an item. Double jump, something like that, no. Because then you're just sitting there, if you have it bound to like 1. So you're sitting there mashing your two mouse buttons as well as your one button,
yeah.
trying to double jump while you're hitting things.
Pretty
I
sure
don't,
that
I'm
wouldn't
not good
be
with
it.
that.
I mean, I think they would do an intuitive thing. If there's some way you'd be able to reach it. And now I'm going to kind of tap into one of my old indie game concepts. Pretty much the idea that I had was that every time your character died and you rebuild the character, maybe you didn't rebuild and it was automatically built for you, you would have a different movement system. Maybe, sometimes you walk and then when you move fast it's a run. Maybe instead you walk and your move fast is a blink. Or maybe you levitate and you run to move fast, but it breaks you from your levitation. Or maybe you just blink everywhere and you can only move in diagonals, but you get the longer you hold it, that's the further you move. All sorts of stuff like that. Or with
Challenging game.
conventional jumps, you could have a double jump, then a triple jump, then a quadruple jump, or it could be more of a levitating moon jump where you just go up until you reach the maximum height, or more of a floaty Zelda, or not Zelda, Mario 2 princess jump where it's like the 5-second float. all sorts of variation like that. I could see that sort of thing instead being something that the items that you equip in Landmark, that's what gives you your variations. Maybe you get double jumps because you've got that set of boots equipped, or instead you've got the boots that give you some extra glide, or instead you've got the boots that you don't get any extra mobility, but you don't take damage when you hit the ground no matter how hard you fall, and it does a small AoE damage radius depending on how much damage you would have taken when you fall there. So, there could be a lot of different, and that's I guess the Super Mario Brothers build that I'd kind of thought of with double lunar anklets or something. But
So you think of like the hover boots in Zelda or the iron boots, like things that you can only equip one, but it's situational.
yeah,
Might be interesting. Sounds complicated for what they're going for right now, though.
or a dash variation, like maybe if you tap shift 3 times while you're holding forward, it'll engage a PlanetSide 1-2 style auto run sort of thing where you slowly rev up into a really fast sprint. It takes a moment to kind of slow down from it because you couldn't just stop on a dime doing that. But at the same time, if you don't have a mount or a vehicle or any other way to get around and you just need to get from point A to point B, this is going to get you going. And most creatures, when they see you going like that, they're going to ignore you. They're going to be like, nah, they're getting the hell out of here. It's not even worth trying to get after them. There's no stalking them. So, I'd love to see that, and that might be an equipable thing, or that might just be something they give us. Think about sci-fi sorts of stuff too. Boosters, jetpacks, hell yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to see all kinds of, the heroic movement, their parkour system, as they're always toting it, seems to be a huge, huge core concept of what EverQuest Landmark is, and the ability to easily traverse any environment. And so I'm concerned when they say they're going to start changing the way items work in conjunction with that, because we're all used to what we're used to, and things will change. I'm sure it'll change for the better when it's done, but I still, we don't have a hard grasp on what they're trying to do, where they're trying to go with it, with anything, and for that matter. I don't want to get too far into the combat weapons, but I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit, like where the possibilities of that could evolve from.
Like, are you talking about how weapons would be affecting heroic movement, or just how the upcoming weapon stuff might work in general?
More of how the upcoming weapons upgrade could work in general. I keep thinking back to DC Universe Online, which I really haven't played a lot of.
Left click and right click combinations for the attacks.
Yeah, basically their combo system where they're like hit left click 2 times, right click once, and then another left click, and you do a completely like separate combo chain.
I like it, but
I really like that. I'm just not sure how it would work in Landmark.
Well, the
based on their
difference
current
is,
weapons.
I think we would actually be able to potentially craft and forge our weapons to have the left and right click combinations that we desired. Maybe we have up to 5 abilities that we can build into it, and some of them might be awesome, epic, special ones that it has a 1 part and a 2 part, so you're equipping one ability that's actually 2 abilities.
Like the sword and the shield.
Yeah.
Salvaging.
Yes, that's a good example.
So,
I'm just really excited to see where they start going with it, as far as that's concerned. And the keyword system, to start playing with keywords.
I think that's
boosting
almost
certain
even more
attributes.
major, the keyword system, because
Yes, very much.
that's where the the combos and counters and team building and group building stuff is really going to start coming into play. And that'll be a lot of fun.
I'm so excited for the stuff and the things.
We just need it. We need it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Oh, we need a
It's
stable
coming.
system first, and then we'll get that stuff.
Yeah. Sure.
I really want it, but I also want to be able to play it first.
Yeah.
So the pushback on multi-threaded optimization, I did see that, and I was kind of confused at their excuse for not implementing it today. They could have, is what I heard, but they're confused about if you alt tab, or if you change your resolution,
yeah.
it'll lock you out
I
and you have
have
to
that
restart.
problem. I have that problem.
Yeah, I've encountered that
So,
a few times before
well,
already.
what's going on right now for some people, and probably the bug that they're getting stuck with, which is the one that I have, is I can't change my graphic settings anymore. I can't change my resolution anymore. If I do, I get immediate black screen. Completely, utterly black screen. And the only way to fix that is for me to go in and delete my user INI file. And then disable the date video, of course. But I have to do that every single time I change my resolution or my graphic settings. So that's probably the bug they're trying to squish, because if you do that, you change something, and now all of a sudden you have a black screen, you have to go through and delete everything and redo all of your settings, everything again, and they probably want to avoid that for people. So they could put it in now, but you know that the people who don't know what's going on, or people who don't know how to work with their files, are going to do something bad and delete something horrible, or they're going to get upset because they can't play their game all of a sudden, and then customer service gets overrun. Like, it's the whole just snowball effect.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could tell you that's pretty much what they were talking about. I've talked to Felgon a little bit about it before, and it's something they've been working on for months now since I talked to them.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I understand that, but as far as we are in closed beta, you know, this isn't a game. This is a test, as far as I'm concerned. So
it's a test with contests.
If you don't know how to reset something like that, or you haven't played with the user ini file personally, which I think you know, like most people should, then maybe like you I don't know, you don't need to be here. Like I don't know, maybe that's too harsh. But I've personally been trying to get the system, or been trying to get Landmark to run on an old AMD system that's like crap, and I've fiddled around with the user config ini and like removed voxel smoothing, which is really interesting if you've never played with that. You can turn voxel
Minecraft.
smoothing off,
Minecraft.
and it looks like Minecraft. Yeah, it's really neat, but you'll get a huge frame increase. You can turn shadows all the way off instead of turning them on low. You can do different things, and maybe that's... of course, that's not what everybody's doing, but maybe people should, because it's really not that hard. Right-click, open as a text doc, and it's binary yes or no for all the options.
They should, but like even I couldn't go into those files and mess with them too much because I don't know it. I do know how to fix things. I do understand this is beta. This is very, very early beta, and I expect everything to break. Is it frustrating? Can I not place props right now because there's no depth perception? Yeah, it's frustrating, but I also understand that's what it is, and that's what it will be. But the way they've done the beta, which is, it's not a positive or negative thing to me, but this type of early access, it's not, I don't even consider it beta, it's early access. And they have to worry not only about, you know, the testing side of things, but they also do still have to worry about marketing. Because if it goes bad, they've let so many people in that, I mean, we've already seen the drop-off of players because of optimization problems.
Yeah.
That's going to spread like wildfire. So, and it's kind of like a double-edged sword for them. So if they don't fix things quickly, people are upset. If they do fix something, but there's still some problems with it, people are upset. And then it becomes, well, this game sucks. And that's what that's what happens when you don't invite people to a beta.
I have to play devil's advocate from time to time. That's what I like to do. And I completely agree with you. For the average user, though, they want to have it as friendly as possible. And they are selling this as early access on Steam now for the last couple months. And it sounds like they're looking at open beta could be just right around the corner, you know, next month, or, you know, no. I don't think so. They've been acting. They've been putting on this front as if open beta is right around the corner next month.
It is right around the corner to them.
3 or 4 months, though.
To
in my
us,
opinion.
it's not. To us, it's not.
Yeah.
3 to 4 months to 6 months is really long time for us. For game development, that's a short period of time. So for them, yeah, it is right around the corner. Oh, yay, open beta. We're pushing to open beta. But yeah, you're pushing because you have, you know, 8 months worth of stuff you want to get done in 6 months. So
right.
It's the difference of lingo.
the push to close beta was strictly a marketing
Legal.
must
It
because
was.
of
It was a legal thing.
the legal
They
must.
said
Yeah,
that it was
because
going to
of the
be
way they
open and we
marketed.
sold stuff.
They put a hard date. They sold stuff. Yeah, I personally believe we technically should still be in alpha. If you look at the way they're handling H1Z1 currently, like
Completely different.
yeah, it's completely different. It's leagues beyond what we ever seen in the early days of Alpha Landmark. You know, like I would say that their system, when we got Landmark in Alpha, we are looking at like a fifth of the system, if that. You know, and H1Z1, they really maybe they kind of learned their lessons from Landmark. Like, not that there was anything wrong with the way they did it, especially being as that it's a very build centric game. But you know, it seems like with H1Z1, they've kind of like pushed back, and they're like, we're not giving any hard deadlines. They've gone out of their way to not say it's coming out anytime ever. You know, it'll be out when it's out.
H1Z1's got way more competition too, and I can tell you as someone who's already played the the most recent public build, it would blow most, pretty much all of the zombie survival games out of the water right now. DayZ, nothing on what H1Z1 is right now, but they don't want to put it out because there's some systems that aren't finished.
But yeah, they won't because they're concerned that they want to have this more polished vertical slice of gameplay, and
I appreciate that.
I agree. Yeah, and I appreciate, but it's completely different. We're talking about the same company that did Landmark, where they pushed it out day one of alpha. You could build outside of your claim and dupe your resources, which lots of people, including myself, took advantage of.
You know, the other thing you could do...
also H1Z1 has server-side things that they're trying to work out. It's not actually mostly the gameplay from what I understand, which is why people are asking, why are you putting crows in when we don't have the game? Who needs crows right now? It's actually server-side issues they're having right now from what I've heard and what I talked to about to Greg.
That's my understanding as well, is that they're really trying to have a more complete game. Like, it's weird, this whole new age version of early access, paying for beta, alpha, or whatever. There really isn't a standard of how complete a game should be before you release it to the public. And Sony's been hugely open, or Sony Online Entertainment has been hugely open with their development process in all of their games lately. But it's kind of they're testing the waters. They're kind of making it up as they go, being the most influential game producing company that's currently, forefronting this sort of endeavor.
I would say one other factor to it is the idea that they don't want to put out, for the case of H1Z1, they don't want to put it out in an early state and not have people to be able to stream it. They want people to be able to stream it immediately, and they don't want it to be like alpha for Landmark, whereas basically, well, okay, we just did our big reveal. Yay, we're so happy right now. Hey, everybody, you know what? We're going to take down the NDA. We're so proud of the game. It's like, well...
Right. What was that? 2 days? 3 days before they dropped the NDA?
It was less than 24 hours, I think.
It was less than a day? Less than a day?
Yeah. It was like the shortest NDA in existence.
Now, so I've forgotten. But yeah, I was incredibly shocked when they're like, "Oh, NDA's dropped. Say whatever you want, do whatever you want. The alpha forums no longer require alpha access. We're going to open them up to the public. Who cares? Let's be completely open. The general public knows everything we know." And that was like a huge movement in game, marketing and game production. Like, nobody that I know of has really done anything like that on that sort of scale.
Only indie companies are usually this open, especially Kickstarters and folks like that. So for a AAA to be doing something like this is it's pretty unprecedented. But the other thing is they've gone to a different model. It used to be subscription based, and people would be basically demanding a quality product. This is, it's going to be free to play. You can buy in early if you want to help us test it and give us feedback and do fun stuff and participate in some contests. And we even have a store where you can buy stuff, and griffins walk by your keyboard, and all that sort of stuff. So there's a it's definitely something where
Inside the game industry, there's been a huge change in this whole free-to-play
yes,
market with the
yes.
mobile game sphere just blowing up and like overshadowing a lot of even like console releases. It's weird how it's weird the shift in the game market, industry in general. And I think Sony SOE is really kind of leading the pack as far as I'm concerned, and they're doing a good job at it.
Well, SOE is one of the groups that it took them a little while to get into it, but they've been doing a great job with it. Some of the early contenders, I look at like Neopets and Nexon. They'd been doing the free to play thing for a long time, and they,
Yes.
between them and more of the indie sites, like if you're doing Newgrounds or Congregate, for example, or Armor Games or Ninja Kiwi directly or whatever, a lot of the sites that you could find, games that it was free to play, there were maybe some in-game microtransactions, but then the other factor to it is they would just have the ad revenue and hope that the volume of users would be enough to help keep the doors on and be able to actually give everybody a little cut of the action. So it's it's been a very interesting shift in the industry over the past 15 years, I would say, to go from where things were at to where they're at now. Like I remember, way back in the day, before I think even before EverQuest itself, the rates that they were charging for online games was like per minute, not per month. So
Yeah, I think I remember something about that with some online games. Yeah, being like
Mm-hmm.
99 cents a minute to
yeah,
play on an online server. So
yeah.
those
If
bills
Yep,
stacked up
I
pretty
remember
quick.
that.
yes, your video game's gonna cost as much as a naughty phone call. Great.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was the birth of online video games, and then we kind of seen Sony SOE adopt this 14.99 monthly subscription fee, and that was adopted by every company. We seen all these clones, especially the early mid 2000s. We seen like a boom in MMOs, and
Well,
they were
Ultima
all
Online also had,
$60 box fee,
yeah, that
and
was,
then the $15 monthly fee.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to maybe purposely forget Ultima Online, being as it was the 2D like isometric. It wasn't what EverQuest 1 was.
No,
Ultima Online
it was more
truly
of a
is the first
sandbox.
MMO, and it had great mechanics. But the day EverQuest 1 came out with those 3D polygon textures, oh my god, it was beautiful, and it looks like crap today.
Yeah.
But back then, it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen.
It
And
reminds me of like the Might and Magic series if they had a better art director.
Oh, I love Might and
Yes.
I
Magic.
did love the Might and Magic series. Good stuff. Haven't
I
really
remember
checked
the
in with Ubisoft.
double-sized SNES cartridges, or no, Sega
Yes,
Genesis
yes, yes.
Mhm.
cartridges, double-sized for Might and Magic, and God, I must have played that game a million times. I don't even know how many times I like started that game up and died and restarted and played for hours and hours on my Genesis.
It was a brutal game. I had
It
the one
was
for the Genesis
incredibly
too. It was
brutal.
brutal.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, that was also one that it came with the book for the game,
The book,
or with
like,
the
Book.
yeah, it came with like every spell, every map. It was the strategy guide basically.
Yeah, yeah, you
Came
didn't
with
have
it.
to buy your $20 extra, the strategy guide by whatever company, Brady Games or something, I think
Brady
makes
Games
most
or
strategy games
Prima
nowadays.
Games. Yeah.
Right. But like when you used to buy a game back in those days, like I think of like Baldur's Gate for PC. Like I used to sit around and read the monster manual, like Dungeon Master Compendium, and it was a huge book with like a spiral bound
Yeah.
book.
I have my
And you used to get
Neverwinter 1 and 2 over
posters.
here. I could bring them over
Neverwinter, I
and check
love
the
those.
books. I'm
I
pretty
read
Right?
sure they
3
got.
for Zelda.
Now,
for Ocarina
now
of
if you were
Time
to
and
go
Majora's
to a
Mask.
GameStop or your local retail store, you're not gonna find like
They
you're
have
not
a
gonna find a
GameStop.
box copy of a PC game. And if you do,
Oh
you're gonna
yeah,
find
no.
a slimline case with a disc in it with less than 600 megabytes, like 230 megabytes of their installer that connects you to their online server that then downloads their 10 gigabyte game or whatever. Like I most recently think of when Diablo 3 came out. I was still living on some rural internet before I moved up here to the cities, and I thought, oh, I'll go out to my local Walmart, buy the game, and avoid downloading for days. Um, and no, that was not the case.
Nope.
I went and I bought the disc, and it's just like a 128 megabyte BNet installer.
And
like
then you gotta download the huge
that I
patch
have
and
to
everything else
download,
to it.
Yeah,
and
brutal.
that's completely different versus the old days, the early or the late 90s of PC gaming, whereas you bought a game, they had the nice fold-out box with all the artwork.
Oh,
it
yeah.
came with a poster.
No,
and like
I still have a lot of
hardbound
those.
book.
I actually,
I may have been a
What
person
happened
who bought
to that?
that.
I
still have it.
sincerely
It's called a
doubt we will
collector's
ever
edition.
see-
yeah,
It is.
even then,
It is.
collector's editions have really gone downhill in the last 10 years or so in PC
The last
gaming.
one I got was Mists of Pandaria, which came with a huge
Ooh.
book, and I also got the strategy guide. And the only reason I got the strategy guide, like the hardbound strategy / art book for it, was because it came with a pair of chopsticks, and I wanted those
that's neat.
chopsticks.
But I mean,
So
that's something I
bought
haven't
a
even
$50
seen.
book for a pair of chopsticks.
the
That's
newest.
cool, though. You have the Mist of Pandaria chopsticks,
Yeah.
and
And
That's
I've
cool,
never
you can
used them.
brag
They're
about
still
it.
in the package.
Cool.
that's very cool. But lately, the $100, $150 collector's edition has not seemed worth
Digital
it.
packs,
Well, look at-
digital
Look
stuff.
at
Yeah.
Arcade. Look at
Exactly.
Arcade. The
Used to be you get a
$150 pack for
hardbound-
that, I could never justify buying.
No,
Oh, hell
Arcade
no.
was ridiculous.
Mm-mm.
Like actually it's a pretty good game. I've been playing free.
Yeah.
Not paid.
Under
But
50
I
bucks
can't
for
justify
localization.
buying any of
Entertaining.
it.
Yeah.
But their
I mean-
premium rates were insane.
Yeah.
Like if back in the day, I pay $100 for the collector's special edition. I want a hardback box. Like I have this. I can grab it right here. EverQuest 2 steel box.
Yeah.
Like hard art book, cloth map,
Soundtracks,
gold plated.
figurines.
24 karat gold plated coin.
Yeah.
But it was something. You had a physical representation, some piece of memorabilia you could set on your desk, an action figure, a bust, a gold coin, whatever. A map or a poster, an art book, several things that actually made it.
Like
And
that.
instead of a cardboard box, you got something sturdy.
Yes,
Late
cardboard
Fable
box
one.
sort of thing. This is actually
Yeah.
the last one that I got was StarCraft 2. That's the last
Wait,
box
yeah,
for a
StarCraft
game
2.
that I got. Since then,
Mhm.
it's been all digital. I think
And
the
the last
oldest one I
games
have is
I
Might and
got
Magic
that are
7.
a disc were when I had my Xbox, and those are the only ones I got. I haven't bought an actual computer game
Nowadays,
in ages.
yeah, I look at collector's edition, and they don't even offer. A lot of companies don't even offer a boxed collector's edition. When I want a collector's edition, I want a box. I want a box. It can go up on my bookshelf. It can go on my desk. It can go on it wherever it physically represents. I spent $100+ on this game, and I'm invested into it. I want a full soundtrack. I want a full art poster, and I want some sort of physical, swag. I want a prop bust, or I want something, a bookmark.
And the only
something,
ones that do it anymore are
chopsticks,
Blizzard.
whatever it was.
Like, Blizzard is the only people that I think even remotely come close to a decent collector's edition for something, and that is
I haven't
only
bought a
if you
collector's
go and
edition
buy it
from
in a
Blizzard for
store.
while.
There's one other place you can find it. Kickstarters. A lot of awesome Kickstarters
True,
have a
true,
$60
true.
package with a box with some art and a poster and
Yeah,
maybe
but
some things that are
that's not a-
signed.
Really, a collector's edition. That's because I've
Right,
put
Actually-
other things for
dealing with
for
the smaller
Kickstarter,
market.
not for games, but like I donated $250 to Reed Timmer for Storm Chasers to do his Tornado Chasers episodes because I really like that stuff. And I got a signed personal message book from him, a poster that's signed by everyone, the whole set of downloaded videos, wallpapers for my computer. Like, I got a whole ton of stuff. Like, I have a book that's probably like one of the most valuable things to me now. So that was all on Kickstarter. So it was pretty cool. And I've actually
That's
was
very
looking at a
cool.
lot of the new ones, the new like games and stuff on Kickstarter, and all of them are doing that. And it's good because it is incentive because no one else gives you stuff anymore. You have to go to conventions to get stuff. You know, I got tons of stuff. You know, I've got, you know, all of this stuff over here. Like I've got, you know, my little Wildstar plushie, and I've got the Lightning Cat from Strife over here. But it's all from PAX, and you don't get that stuff anymore. Barely even online. So
No.
Kickstarter, guys.
I think
Indie
I have to bring up
companies.
SOE again. Like I said, I've
Yeah,
played
we've kind of dived
EverQuest
off
2
track,
for
didn't
10
we?
years. And most recently, their last couple expansion packs have not seen a box store release whatsoever. They have had a digital release and digital collector's edition, which involves, you know, a couple lines of code to give you extra virtual items.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, like Diggs is asking me, what century do you live in, Serial? I live in probably the late 90s where PC gaming was respected and appreciated. You know, maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of where I'm stuck at, you know. Back
I remember
when
when
I
we didn't have
couldn't play
internet.
Baldur's Gate 2, I would read that huge manual, and I never read it from start to finish. I would sit in whatever free period or whatever I had in my school, my education, and I would read through game manuals and sketch out doodles of character designs and do all that sort of stuff because there was games were bought from a physical retail store and they included physical retail extras, and that does not exist anymore. Buying a PC game as a physical copy really does not exist anymore.
I know the
Some of
horrors
the
of
top
dial-up gaming.
games you may find a box copy at your local Walmart or GameStop or whatever, but really they're pushing consoles and whatever, you know, console exclusive is available this month.
Okay, Wizard's Gambit. I used to play Phantasy Star Online on a dial-up on our second phone line. I used to play Diablo, the demo for Diablo on dial-up. If you want to talk about going old school, I went way back. Ultima Online, I played it on dial-up. Yes, dial-up. I know what dial-up's like. And you know what the funny thing is? Even though the transfer speed is a lot slower, the packets that were being used were also a lot smaller. So the amount of data that was being sent back and forth, you know, it still has relatively, you know, similar latency is still the biggest factor more than the actual back and forth. That being said, it is really nice to have DSL. It's really nice to have fiber. It's really nice to have you know, even satellite, even though it's got some silly latency to it. But yeah, no, we have awesome internet now. Things were funny 20 something years ago.
At least some of the younger generation has finally experienced a queue time with ArcAge.
Nice, yeah.
Like I remember reading all of my strategy guides, my map book for WoW, all of that stuff, and you know, looking at, you know, different things on web pages and stuff while waiting in queue to get back into WoW, because there were 2-3 hour queues every single day on every single server for years.
Yes.
So you guys don't know the pain the gamers went through.
Yeah, no. I was
Yeah.
on a BlackRock server on WoW. If any server was going to have a queue, that was it. And if any server had a queue, BlackRock also had a queue. So
I was on Warsong.
we spent a lot of time waiting for, you know, the queue to the point where it's like, screw it, we're not gonna be able to raid tonight. Everyone, let's go to an RP server and naked raid the place or whatever. So, we would go to an RP server and then go do what we're going to do over there, and I would bind a 250 character message to every single attack that I have. So when you're fighting me, it's like fighting a boss, because I fill your chat with spam. And I basically said, well, hey, that's role playing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, role playing a dick.
That's another good point.
If that's what you want to
Blizzard and all of
play.
those devs, like, they don't tell you. They never told you anything. You sat in queue. You sat and waited. Oh, it's Tuesday. Servers are going down. Oh, servers aren't up yet. I guess something went wrong. That's why you sat there and waited. So, guys, like, the stuff that, like, to get back a little bit to SOE, the stuff that SOE's doing with these minute-to-minute updates, like Michael Flatley was saying, is amazing. And it's gonna spoil people, though. Like, server doesn't come up, and I just sit there and go, well, obviously they hit a snag, and we don't have servers yet. But like, we didn't have that. We had a little thing on the side that said, "This is our weekly maintenance," and
Here's your
you checked
estimated
back
wait
at the
time.
time, and you expected an extra 2 hours, and you expected another extra 2 hours. You expected it to be down for at least 12 hours, and you just knew it was going to happen. And no one responded to you on a forum. We didn't get devs, So what they're doing is crazy and pretty awesome that they take the time to actually answer even a single question for us, other than customer service taking care of immediate issues with accounts.
Yeah.
So
back,
go SOE
I
for
only
that.
Played, World of Warcraft until maybe the second expansion. I was very much into EverQuest 2 at the time. But a lot of my friends in real life, they simply did not possess a system capable of running EverQuest 2 at release. EverQuest 2 and World of Warcraft were released roughly the same time. EverQuest 2 possessing 3 times the system requirements. It really required a heavy system to run.
Wow.
And I loved it.
I
jumped in day one and just loved the hell out of it. The only problem was everyone I knew in real life, all of my school friends at the time, early years of college, they were playing World of Warcraft, and so I jumped in and I played World of Warcraft with them for a while. But personally, I see it as a completely subpar game that had superior marketing skills. EverQuest 2 never really pandered to the commercial
they went to
marketing
the general audience. Oh, and I was one of those general audience people. I treated it as a hardcore game.
There's nothing wrong with that, because it introduced a whole new generation to the concept.
I had to stare at the ground in Burning Crusade because I was running on a Dell from 2000, like a stock Dell, and it had, I think, it was like 512 RAM, which was like the very basic that you needed. And I sat there, and I was a main tank, and I was one of the best freaking bear tanks on my server, and everyone wanted me to tank for them. I skipped raids, I skipped SCC, I skipped Hyjal, I went straight into Black Temple, but my raids were staring at the ground, going, okay, where is everything, guys? Where is everything? And they would tell me. And then, I'd gather stuff, and I'd have to, do what I needed to do, get everything, fire all my cooldowns, and just stare at the ground. That was how I played for years.
Based on that multiple skill tab targeting system, though, you were able to do such a thing, and you were able to do such a thing proficiently. Not even looking at what you were fighting, you looked straight at the ground, you knew when your cooldowns were, and you hit your hotkeys. And you had multiple hotkeys worth of stuff, and you hit them based on timers, not based on when it was efficient for you to, the enemy had its shield down, and therefore you struck with a certain attack at that time. You hit it as soon as the cooldown was ready, and that's kind of what WoW and most other MMOs were.
Yeah.
Compared to what EverQuest is now, I really, based on what they were saying about heroic movement and attached items, I really hope that we don't end up. I think 12 keys, you're 1 through 0, space and equals, or dash and equals. Sorry, I think that is the very max we can look at for a a standard competitive game that's fast paced. I don't think any more than 12 action buttons versus our past MMOs having 12 action buttons per bar, and we have 10 or 12 bars. I don't want 10 or 12 bars. I want one bar, and that's it.
I think I guess one of the games I would cite for heroic movement, there's definitely a lot of other stuff I kind of want to get into here, but kind of for heroic movement and for the ability to get around and stuff, I kind of think about Warframe, and that's one of my favorite games in terms of the parkour aspect of it. All the running and wall climbing and all of that stuff to get from point A to point B. A lot of characters have abilities that enhance their movement in one way or another, be it a charge or something that makes them move faster, or I think one character can make a path, another one can make a teleport point between two locations. So there's a lot of abilities they have for mobility, but you only get 4 specials plus your primary weapon, your secondary weapon, and your melee weapon. So you really don't have a lot of controls. In fact, you can play everything on a gamepad, and I think that's eventually going to be the goal for EverQuest Next and Landmark, is to be able to have them.
And if they're going to PS4,
Exactly.
controller base.
Exactly, Neuro. You have less controls, but you're hitting those buttons more often. Based on the old MMO mechanic where we had 10, 12 slot hotbars, we just stood in place. We didn't move our characters. We put them where they were supposed to be in our lineup, and we hit our hotbars. Versus in these new games, we're looking at less spell actions and more movement, more skill based in aiming our abilities and being able to manually dodge instead of a die roll behind the scenes telling us, hey, we survived, we missed, whatever. We're actually relying on our clicking on that point of the screen and making that a successful attack, versus we're clicking tab and 1 and letting it go behind the systems.
Yep. Well, look at Shadows of Mordor, which just came out. Fantastic
Very cool
combat.
game.
I love it. You never change a sword, you never change a dagger, you never change a bow. You have the same 3 weapons that actually don't have don't really have a specific ability. You just have all of these combo markers where you hit this button to do this and then this button to do that, and they all chain together. But the combat is gorgeous. You can, climb up ledges. You can do, if you attack attack the orc or whatever, when you're on a ledge, it'll do a certain, ledge kill and that kind of stuff. Like, that stuff's really cool. I wouldn't mind a button to block and or roll or dodge, just because it's still skill to me, because you have to have the reaction time to do it.
Yeah.
But, having that as an automatic, dodge as a skill, as a
As
an
a dice
attribute
roll behind
instead
the
of-
scene.
yeah,
That seems
yeah.
stupid.
I'm not-
Yeah.
not
I
as
want it to be a
much anymore.
physical button you have to press. Since day
I mean, I
one
could
of
sleep
PvP and
tank
Landmark.
through WoW.
Exactly. And that's
I
wrong.
have.
There's something
No, I have
wrong with the
narcolepsy.
mechanics.
I
if
have
you can do
narcolepsy.
that.
I have slept through an entire dungeon and raid before. I will sit there doing this, and I'll be playing and literally sleeping through doing my raid, and I'll be perfectly fine because it's all muscle memory.
Wow.
Back in the day, I actually don't have narcolepsy. I have the exact opposite. I don't sleep, so I'll stay up for like 3 or 4 days to the
both.
point where I'm completely delirious and out of my mind, and I'm playing the game like while sleeping. I assume it's the same sort of mechanic, but it is muscle memory, whereas there is no real quick-paced action
Decision-making.
skill involved. Yeah, no, it's hitting the buttons when the buttons turn white and waiting for them to count down and turn white again so that you can
And
press
half
them
the time
once
you don't
more.
have to move out of stuff yourself. Like, if I'm sleep tanking, because what I do is I micro nap all the time. Like, I have insomnia and narcolepsy, so I'm just constantly doing
goodness.
that stuff. Yeah, it's fun. But my husband plays a priest, so if I happen to just be standing in the fire and half asleep and not realizing what I'm doing, he leaps of faith me. And I'm out of the fire, so I don't have to even worry
That
about
is a
moving.
great combo for an MMO dynamic duo relationship to play. Tank and priest.
There you
You
go.
can do pretty much everything you need.
Mostly,
Grab a
yeah.
couple pickup DPS here and there. Sure.
Yep, that's pretty much what we do.
There you
So,
go.
um, there were some things getting into the getting back into the show and some of the show notes here. By the way, it's not that I don't enjoy this conversation we've been having, but we've been
Oh no, we just
I
get way off track.
I realize, yeah, we've been talking about this for about a half an hour, and it's an awesome conversation to have. But there's a little bit of stuff that I kind of want to get in here before we continue getting into some awesome stuff. You two are great to talk to, by the way. You're absolutely awesome. So
That's the problem, is we will distract you and we will totally
too
make
awesome.
you forget what the concept of the show is. We
Oh no,
we
no,
need to
you
get back to
didn't.
the show.
That's the
I'm a
thing.
cat
You didn't.
squirrel.
You didn't make me forget.
We're doing it right now.
I've been enjoying listening to the two of you before getting back on the subject here.
Most
So,
definitely.
um, they talked about the complete gameplay experience is their focus towards getting into open beta. It's not a vertical slice of gameplay. They want the complete gameplay experience. Maybe, a few features might be kind of limited still, but at least they'll all be in. At least we'll have, a bit of everything. And that's definitely where things are going. They talked about an exceptional item system where you'll find stuff in the world. You can break it down with the salvage system and then use it to make bigger and better stuff. So I'm really excited for that. There's a lot of different ways that can work, and there's a couple of the old documents that I wrote back in late last year that would probably work really, really well with some of those systems. The loot from enemies sort of thing. So you have to not kill everything with fire if you don't want just charred everything from everybody. And the other one is for items to actually get better the more you use them and the more awesome stuff they get involved with. Um, you got it, Searial. Goofball. So that'll
At least he
be
closed the
real.
door.
Yeah, well, that's nice. Yeah. Um, oh no! Now this next note's going to sound a little awkward. They're going to be trickling in systems instead of waiting for the giant updates.
Could not be timed better.
Oops. Yeah, so they're going to
All
be.
we needed was Sims in the background with no bathroom in their house.
Such a weird game. At least we get the little censor blurb. So that's definitely a nice point to consider, is that they want to give us a little bit of everything, and it's instead of getting every single part. If they put all of crafting what they'd been calling crafting 2.0 in one fell swoop, it would have taken a lot longer. It might not have taken as long as potentially it is right now, but at the same time, going at the slow iterative pace they've been going allows them to work on it and fine tune it and make adjustments for systems that haven't even been fully implemented and released yet. He's getting another drink.
No, he's closing the door.
Okay. That's a good reason.
Well, we don't want to see the level of view of your bathroom?
And I was gonna get up and open it. No, and they said it's definitely another factor to it, to the small little bits here and there, is that they're making sure they make all of these systems actually integrate with one another as they go on, as they add to them, because it's really easy for each individual system to be developed in a vacuum and then kind of puzzle piece together. It's a lot better if everything is just meshed together from the beginning, and it's
Yeah.
it all relies on one thing relies on the next, rather than it just being oh yeah, you can do all of this crafting stuff, but it has absolutely nothing to do with harvesting or combat or anything. You're just crafting because it's fun to level up crafting. No.
We also want stuff for everyone in the game, too. I mean,
Yeah.
we all saw how just having building for so very long kicked out a good portion of people who were playing that needed something more to keep them interested. People who want to just harvest and stuff. Even with all the building, you start building, and because we have a select amount of claims, you just keep recycling your materials. You know, have had the same materials since the beginning of beta.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't had to actually do a huge harvest because there's no time sink
Oh,
or there's
wow.
not for it other than copper, because obviously copper is
Yeah.
what we pay for our claim with.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I've had to go harvest. So you don't really have anything for the harvesters or the crafters because, well, you know, you get your top pick and it stops right there. You know, there's no use for going and killing trees anymore, or using heartwood, all those sort of things. So to trickle in different portions, not only to get them to mesh, but to make sure that people have things to do and that there's a reason to go explore this world and to, you know, do things other than just sitting on your claim playing with voxels, which is a great thing
Yeah.
to do. But, you
And
know,
I would say there's like
that's a
three.
small portion of the population
Yeah.
that wants to do that.
I would say there's like three interactable features that open beta started with. That's building, harvesting, and exploring. A little bit of exploring,
Exploring,
or
for
actually
sure.
no, crafting. Not even exploring.
Yeah, crafting.
And then I would say exploring was the next feature, especially
Okay, yeah, like
when the
a
caves
week
came in.
after, like a week after all that other stuff went in,
Crafting,
building and
done.
whatnot. Even if you weren't a huge builder, you suck at building. Exploration was one of my favorite things
But
from day
that
one
was-
of Alpha.
That was one of the smallest things, and then exploration really became a big draw and something to bring people back when they added the treasure chest.
The caves, yeah.
Yep.
Once they gave you a loot, a carrot on a stick to do
I can't
your
wait for the
exploration for.
recipes. When they
Yes.
put the
That-
recipes
the
in that we
Zephyr
can go
belt.
explore, and the achievement system. The achievement system will keep a lot of people too.
Yeah.
I'm an
Currently,
achievement whore.
besides the Zephyr belt, is there any reason to do spelunking?
Delver's
if you don't have
grappler
a-
and the
If you don't have a lunar anklet or a feather in a bottle, yeah, but
what was it, the
not-
cloud bangle or
not
something?
really.
The other double jump
Yeah.
item.
I've got a couple cloud bangles.
Yeah.
cloud bangle and
I have not gotten the Delver's grappler
Grappler.
yet. Which
I have one of
I
those.
miss my alpha.
Like I have
my
everything.
alpha.
I'll give you-
grappler.
You know, I have no
I'll get you
reason to even
cereal.
go into a cave at this point. And honestly,
Yeah,
I'm
no.
kind of
Because
okay with
there's
that
no
because the
monsters there.
caves are hard to navigate for me.
I'm
I get
not
stuck
a
in caves.
huge builder. I like building. I'm okay at it. I enjoy it. It's fun. It is a huge concept of the game right now. But there's this weird disheartening
something I
of
want.
building, whereas like I don't feel as if there is enough risk versus reward when I'm out harvesting. I think that
There isn't.
building will be a much more rewarding system when you have to actually fight creatures while harvesting resources. When you
And on
when you
that note,
die,
like-
you're like, oh my god, I found that gold vein, and then that necro wisp
Yes.
killed me. Like I feel like
Dang
that
it.
will
The
be
Necrozoa, yeah.
Michael.
yeah, Necrozoa. There's a lot of wisp type
Yeah.
creatures coming in with the first update due to pathing and terrain
Mhm.
mapping for footpathing.
We're getting the
We're gonna
chomper
have
guy
a lot
first.
Yeah.
of floating people or not moving at all static people as monsters. But I understand that, and I'm excited for it because, like I said, I want to earn what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And
I see what you're
I
lately,
hope
it,
they do what
it just
Final
seems like,
Fantasy
you know,
did too.
you
Which-
just get it.
What did Final Fantasy? Which Final Fantasy?
Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. They did some terrible things, awful things, and that's why I quit the game. But one thing that I did like, even though we could never afford a house because they were like the 100 million freaking gil or whatever.
Yes.
When you
yeah.
killed Titan or you killed, you know, Ifrit, they had a chance, a very, very rare chance to drop like a feather or drop a horn. And then you needed like 10 horns or whatever to craft, you know, this huge like shield with Ifrit's head on it to put in your house. I would like something like that. You know,
I like that.
kill
That's
a
cool.
wisp to get to, you know, the essence, the wisp essence of magic or whatever, and then you can, you know, if you have, for every wisp you get like 10 of those, and you can place like magical glowy wisp stuff everywhere, you know, as like maybe as a voxel, or because they were talking about smoke voxels and stuff, or, you know, part of it becomes, you know, you can put a wisp, you can craft a wisp in a jar and put it on your bedstand or something.
Or you
Things
have
like
to.
that would be great because you would get both people, the adventure people and the builder people, together doing something.
You have to kill 100 of them to unlock the ability to use them as a creature on your builds when you're making PvE
Yes.
content. That's the sort of thing I could
Exactly.
see them doing. Because I'd be going out there. I mean, I'm going to go out there and just murder stuff anyway, but, that gives me even more reason to do it. Hey, hey.
But I want there to be something where you do sync the resources you get to. I mean, you can unlock the use of that NPC, but I also want something where you have a sync for something. Because like right now, like with the trees, heartwood, no use for it anymore. I've been saying for a while, why don't we just have like stained heartwood that we could use as a material or something? Because it bugs me when there's things that we could go get, or a reason to go, or we just need a reason to do it. Because then no one would kill that wisp anymore once they have the NPC, unless they
exactly what you're
absolutely
saying.
needed to.
Or get attacked by him, which is probably going to be more the case.
The in
There'd be
between
no
there
reason to
exists
classify it.
between okay, an NPC wisp character can be added to your claim, can be created with 100 wisp spirit, which you can obtain from killing wisps. It's something as simple as that, as where you obtain a fragment of a material from destroying each enemy, and once you obtain so many of those fragments, you can recreate that enemy under your own command on your own claim. And so, a mechanic such as that is really where I would like to see things go, and I think that would be the most enjoyable for players.
Yeah, because right now we don't have a reason to do a lot of things, and like there's no reason for me to go treasure hunt. There's no reason for me to go cut down trees. There's no reason for me to do most of anything other than build, and it's not
No, there's
great
really
to
not.
sustain gameplay.
Let's say all you want to
love
do
the
is
game,
build.
it's
You
just-
don't have to do a thing. If you've got your money bags, you've got some money in the bank, you can open up that marketplace and you can buy all the resources necessary for building. If that's what you're into, you can build. And if you've got the money, you can build whatever you want because resources are unlimited for building as far as the marketplace is concerned. On the flip side of that, if you don't enjoy building and you want to be an exploration adventurer type, you can go out and explore and destroy enemies and acquire those same resources that other people are spending money on, and then post them in some sort of auction house and sell them for in-game currency, if that's the sort of type of gameplay that you're looking for. And that's the main key to Landmark that I think will make it an incredibly great game that we currently don't have, is a resource gathering method that involves combat, a PvE mechanic, whereas you fight your foes and acquire their loot and use it for your own. I really think that once monsters go in, I believe it's been pushed on the roadmap to first or second week of November for our
Something
first
like
couple
that.
monster types.
I think it's actually
Um,
last week of October.
Is
The
it?
very, very last week, because there's like the Chomper and the other one that's
I heard
stationary.
it was October, and then I heard it was early November. But regardless, it's
I can
coming,
find it quickly
and
too.
that will add a whole new dynamic to the game. Whereas people who, and I know there are people who just don't want to go mine. They don't want to do that. Or
Yeah.
I like to go mining. I love to go mining. It's fun, but that added depth of, oh, I found a rare gem vein, and as soon as I found it, a monster came out to defend it, or was just defending its territory in the local area. Whatever combat that ensues because of that, that's really the only key element we're missing from Landmark at the moment to create a truly epic and great game. Is
It's
that
the last week
that
of November,
PvE
actually.
mechanic?
Last
It
week
is
of
the
November.
last week of November.
Okay, that's fair. It'll be
Bummer.
a little bit
on
yet.
28th. It's right after Thanksgiving.
See, and I
Which means it
believe
probably
in
will
the
be the first
last
week of December.
roadmap, it was, like you said, the last week of October, but they've pushed it back. And they continue to pull things forwards or push them back based on where they exist
I think
on
they're
current
probably
systems
retuning the
implemented.
PVE or the PvP stuff rather before they get the PvE in, because it's probably going to be much easier to get weapons, armor, keywords, and heroic movement up and running
Yeah,
and
very
enjoyable
true.
than getting the creatures
Well,
in.
they always wanted the combat to be solid before they put in the PvE stuff, which is why they did PvP first, so we could focus just on the combat and not have to worry about pathing and all the other crazy things that goes along with PvE. But they also have been really, really good when they push a major thing back to give us something else. Like, they pushed what was it? They
Yes.
pushed combat back, and then voxel water. Like, they just give us these random things that pop out of nowhere, which
Those
is kinda
oceans,
cool.
though. Are you kidding me? The oceans in Landmark are by
The
far
oceans are the reason we
most
don't have
beautiful
multi-threading.
oceans. Okay, and yeah, that's a terrible.
They
that's
are,
a
they
terrible
are.
give-take scenario. Whereas the oceans are the most beautiful
But it's better
water
that it's now
system
than
in any
if
game
they put
I've
in
ever
oceans
seen.
later.
Yeah.
Because imagine if they put in combat and then they put in oceans and it broke the multi-threading. People would
Right, exactly.
freak
Right, they
out.
put in multi-threading, but they don't have core mechanics such as dynamic water or ocean water, and that doesn't affect multi-threading. They need systems such as water. When they first put in the ocean water, I know a lot of people who had coastal areas, they took a huge FPS hit. We went from like 40, 60 frames to like 17, 20 frames, on ocean areas. But when multi-threading comes in, they have all the problems logged. They know what's going on with the oceans, and they're able to reduce the resource usage by oceans and speed up that mechanic. And that's incredibly important, that before they start streamlining and fixing what they need to have, what needs to be available.
Yeah.
The core mechanics need to be in place before they start optimizing certain core mechanics. Otherwise, that baseline code is not in place.
Speaking
We
of
just do this,
optimizing.
then,
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, if they do that, we just go optimize, and they spend so much time optimizing, and then it kills it again, and then they spend a whole ton more time, and then they kill it again.
It ruins productivity.
6 months of crap kind of optimization. In the end, goes to a year's worth of crap optimization.
Yeah.
That we don't have because they are optimizing later on, and they can just get it out of the way of having all of those bugs and the beat down on the systems.
And we saw that early with PlanetSide too, that it got so bad that Smedley had to put his foot down and say, "No, you must not continue until you have optimized this game. It is unacceptable."
What did they just do last month?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
before
basically what they
PlanetSide
did.
2 was ever announced, what were they saying? I'm not sure. I'm terrible at PlanetSide 2, and I'm not an FPS guy, but I enjoy the game. I love the game. My kill death ratio is absurd, so we we won't go there.
Okay.
But when they started the game, it really seemed as if they wanted people to play the game. They put out what was more or less an unstable system, and they worked on stability from that point.
That's
And
true.
I think that's the best way to go.
But that's the funny thing is they're now looking at SLI support for Landmark, and it's like, well, dude, the Forge-Light engines had SLI support for a while. What gives? But different technical considerations, because there's it's the voxel version of it. There's a lot of different things, a lot of different constraints that go along with what they're working with, but they're working through it. And I'm, like you were just saying, I'm glad, like both of you were just saying actually, I'm glad that they've waited on the optimization until they've got the core features that are going to need to be optimized in place first, rather than going all willy-nilly, optimize every little thing along the way, and then, have it take a lot longer, and then still have to do a full optimization pass towards the end. So, I want to move on a little bit because we've got 15 minutes left here.
Oh goodness.
There were a few other things The pumpkin carving contest, by the way, I believe you have until Friday to pick up the pumpkin if you want to do that. I don't remember exactly where they said it was, but yeah, in game there's a big old pumpkin.
Fenman knows where it is.
Okay, so you can
yeah.
find him in game. Changes to the Landmark live show, so they've actually officially announced what's going on with it. So it's still going to be a weekly show. On the weeks where there's the updates, it's going to be the news and Q&A on that update, and that's going to be the major focus. But on the other weeks, they're going to be over in Studio B. They're going to be doing a lot more in-game focus. They're going to be hanging out with the players and hopefully doing a little PvP sorts of stuff here and there, checking out awesome builds, parties and harvest events and things like that that people time for the show there. There's going to be all sorts of kind of interesting stuff going on there, I think. So they're going to have to find some way to fill time, an hour a week when there isn't really news, and it was kind of a slow week this week. So that's why I'm glad we've actually had a lot to rant about here, because otherwise I would have been through these notes really quickly. The skeleton suit, by the way, if you're going to be getting into the Halloween build contest, is
Glow in the dark.
yeah, that's if you get a winning entry in the Halloween build contest, you get the skeleton pajamas, which from the first time I looked at it, I was thinking to myself, wait a minute, that was from Free Realms. You guys just closed that. So yeah.
Oh, I miss Free Realms. I really do.
You also get the title.
Yes.
And a gravestone prop. A different one than the one we have right now.
Yeah, it's to mark that you had a winner there.
Yeah.
So something else that they had mentioned that I thought was pretty cool is the shift from 1 week to 2 weeks. Well, also they also kind of talked about the systems that they're working on. We see the live server. There's a test server where it's really, really raw and rough, and there's a QA server, which I believe is where they're working on the stuff that's going to go to the live server. So the fact that they're having to manage less builds means it's also less managing of builds internally, further making Felgon's job easier, and meaning the amount of time they have to wait on builds to do their job is going to be much reduced. So I'm really happy for that. They've also said that it's going to allow them to kind of better monitor the progress of work, figure out how quickly they're able to work on features, and be able to give better estimations of how long it's going to take to do stuff, or at least internally know how long it's going to take to do each feature and how much time to give everybody to do everything, so that way they can better time getting people working on integrated systems to be lined up working on them at the same time. Some other stuff.
I also feel like we have more stuff when they do every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I feel like we're getting more meaty patches too, because they'll have more things to give us basically in one go around.
Yeah, they said it's not necessarily going to be double the content, but it's going to be pretty close to double the content, and it's probably going to be a lot cleaner than the 1 week version. Searial, go for it.
I've noticed in past patch details the Wednesday live feature what is actually their
Landmark
show,
Live.
not the live feature, right? The Landmark Live. They've mentioned a lot of stuff in past that just simply did not get into game. And where was I going with this? It seems as if in days past they've said, oh, we were 2 days late on getting optimization in. I remember them specifically saying a couple of weeks ago they were 2 days late. If we had 2 more days to get optimization in, it would have been in
yeah,
this
2
last
days till
patch.
they found that next bug, and then that next bug, and then that next
Until
bug.
they
of
put in the
course.
patch and
There's
everything
always-
breaks, and that takes priority. So
Yeah.
There's always
at least
another
this
bug,
way we
but it
might
seems
get
like
something in.
Yeah.
in days past, they've always been 2 or 3 days late on having this or that feature included in this week's update. Switching to a 2-week update schedule, I believe, because they're on a 1-week schedule, they're working on five business days, a business week, before they complete things that's even less than that because they have to have things out on Wednesday. So let's say they work from Wednesday to Wednesday. That's that's a really short time period to try to have everything hammered out and completed. Versus now they have 2 weeks. So let's say they don't have everything, they get everything done in a week schedule and they implement the code, and because this is a beta game and we're still changing things every time something breaks.
Yeah.
Well, that's
they've
happened in
had
the
to fix
past
it.
where they updated. It was a fix and it was an update that went out that week and it broke things. Well, nowadays, now that they're going to the 2-week schedule for updates, they can realize, hey, this weekly update, it broke something. So we can fix the breakage before we ever implement it. And
Yeah.
personally, I think that
I mean, there's always a
Instead
chance
of
that something's
getting a
going to get
weekly
corrupted
update-
with the compiler when the stuff is actually being processed to be sent out to us.
For sure.
And when that happens, it's like, well, there's not much you can do about it. You know, once you identify that that's what the problem is, you just rebuild it and do a quality
how many
check and send it
offsite
out.
servers do they have nowadays?
Probably
I don't
a
know.
lot. I don't know.
More
a
than
couple.
I care to
A
count.
couple. I think like 12. They have like 12 offside servers nowadays. So when they send a patch to the offside server, something goes wrong, you know, and they do that. Days past, they've done that weekly update to the servers. They push that patch. We were down for a whole day and a half of of problems in incompatibility where they had to do hot fixes right after they did a fix because they were working on that five days or 5 business days
Yeah.
where they were actually in the office, and 7 days a week before they actually had to force a patch to us, whether it was done or not, whether it had been extensively tested. The 2-week iterations nowadays, I hope that things will be more polished and more rounded off.
I think so. I think it will be. I think it's going to be a lot better, and the amount of time that it's going to take for them to, you know, for when they project that it's going to go in to it actually going in is potentially going to be a lot shorter. I just don't know how much time they actually spend practicing the the update versus like, okay, what was it like going from test to QA? What's it going to be like going from QA to live? So that's going to be
They
kind
don't
of
test everything, and they
Yeah.
don't test a lot of stuff. I tell you that because I
Yeah.
talked to Dave at PAX about the whole bug that happened where you could duplicate an item out of your inventory, and you could just keep placing
Yes.
it. And we filled a whole claim full of proximity mines, and I told Dave
Proximity
about
mines,
that.
yep.
And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, we did that. We figured that would be like the first thing you guys tested when you built the thing." And he's like,
oops.
"We don't have time for that." It's like, we didn't test that.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
that's what we're here
Belgon
for.
might have gotten a little scared. So
That's what we're here for. So, I just want to we just go through a couple. I mean, actually, I've got a little extra time. If you two want to hang out for a few, we could go a little bit over. Either way.
I'm good for several more hours. If we're going to continue this, I would love to.
Awesome. But there were just a couple more things that I kind of wanted to get through here. So Terry was his answer to what's so challenging about it is like showing the game so early is to or what the challenge has been with the game is showing it so early and having it look good that it's important that it can't just look like crap. It can't be half looking good and half things that are really bad and janky. They want to make sure that it's something that really represents, especially because before it was EverQuest Next Landmark, so they really needed to make sure it was something representing EverQuest Next in a good, positive way. Because back when it was EverQuest Next when they changed from that, I don't think they were going to say, well, it's not EverQuest Next, now it can be crap. But they definitely put a very big emphasis on, this is the tools for our next flagship game. That's a big deal.
SOE has it has some great games, but if you think of Sony Online Entertainment, what game do you think of? Personally, I think of EverQuest.
That and Planet.
You
I
know,
mean,
that
me Planet Side because I played that so much. But yeah,
I like Planet Side, but I'm personally
EverQuest
not
is a
an
landmark.
FPS guy. And I've been in the loop long enough that I know that like EverQuest was really their it always has been their cash crop.
yeah,
And I see that being more of like a marketing gimmick with Landmark back in the early alpha days, whereas they marketed this as help us build EverQuest 3, EverQuest
Yeah.
Next. But it's so much more than that, it really is. I'd like to see more sci-fi props because I'm a huge EverQuest fan. I grew up like watching my uncle play EverQuest 1, being too young to pay for a monthly fee myself when it first came out, and like being an avid EverQuest 2 player since day one. It's a great game, but that is that medieval high fantasy sort of environment that maybe not everybody is into, which I definitely agree with them remarketing Landmark as Landmark instead of EverQuest Landmark, because when I think of EverQuest, I think of that high fantasy magic swordcraft sort of gameplay. Versus Landmark, I think of do whatever you want, there is no. I remember them trying to base. It's been several months now since they tried to base some lore on Landmark, and I kind of. I'm a Magic the Gathering sort of guy, so I definitely latched on to a few years ago. Magic the Gathering introduced planeswalkers, whereas your hero existed in a plane of reality, and he conquered that mental ability so he could transverse planes of reality, and we had the Planeswalk saga in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
And when they started releasing lore a few months ago for Landmark, that's really what I thought about, is everyone who exists as a character in Landmark is a Planeswalker. We came from our own home dimension. We unlocked the ability of interdimensional interspace travel, and we are able to transmit our being across multiple dimensions, multiple realities. And that's why in Landmark we exist as a agnostic type game. We don't conform to high fantasy
a little bit of everything is
realistic
kind of settled
mythology.
there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like everything's
exactly.
kind of made its way there. So I mean that's going to be pretty cool. Now that's going to be another thing is, that we already see a lot of the materials that we get in the world. They had talked about materials we're going to be getting off of mobs, and whether or not there's going to be mobs that things that you kill, things that could kill you that are going to fight you, definitely you're going to get stuff from them. But will there be passive mobs that you just go over and kill them, or just go over and harvest from them, and it's no big deal? And they could do it one way or another. I don't really think it's that big of a deal. It's either you kill it and then you get the fur, or you get the fur and then you've got a shaved lion running around, or I don't know.
Or sure, or as if they mentioned the what were they calling it? The Mario Chomper plant, right? Where it stays in place wherever it is, and it exists as
Called a chomper.
Yeah.
The Chomper. Okay, sure, the Chomper.
It's a
Okay,
piranha
for
plant in Mario
exam-
Brothers.
Yeah, basically,
Yeah, the piranha plant from Mario Brothers, as that exists, as a monster. God, I completely forgot my
That's
train
fine.
of thought, but
That's
somebody
fine.
should pick it up from here.
Actually, there were a couple other things here. If you think about it, definitely come back to it. But the chest pickup. By the way, don't pick up your chest, everybody. It's not safe.
Nope.
If you pick up a
your
chest
chests
with
I
are
said
items,
that
in
from
it-
the beginning.
They
I said
have
that from the
items
beginning.
in them. Yes.
Don't touch them.
yeah, I wasn't
Guys,
planning
and
to.
just a
They
little
fixed that
disclaimer.
two ago, but it's
We just
not
got it
fixed.
last week.
Yeah,
But
a
a little
week ago.
disclaimer, if they change anything with your chests, ever, don't do anything with them until
Bug report it immediately.
until the next week. Because if you do something with your chest, more than likely you're going to lose some stuff. Because the chests have been notorious for having bug problems.
Yes.
Or do
Yeah.
like a test chest, like throw a bunch of like, I don't know, dirt in one and test the new feature or the new thing that they're doing with them.
I
Because
still have chests
Yeah.
full of alpha like 5.5 messenger signets that
I
I'm
dumped all
waiting
that.
on
I
salvage
dumped all that
for.
stuff.
I
Nah.
keep saying every time I forget
we're
to
gonna
pay my
lose
upkeep,
all-
and it ends up
But
in
we're
my
gonna
overflow.
lose all of our stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
when
gonna
it goes
throw
in
it-
There's
open
no really
beta
no
anyway.
point to me right now because
When we
we're just gonna
open
lose all of our
beta,
stuff.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
When's open beta though? Open beta could be 6 months
Couple months.
away. As
Okay,
far as I'm concerned.
Before March. That's what Dave said, is definitely before March.
I have not heard that.
I believe it was
but-
either in a tweet or a recent post, but yeah, he was saying
We all
'cause
know how Dave
somebody
is.
somebody looked at one of the messages he said and saw the word March and is like, oh,
Soon,
I see what you did there,
Yes.
and he replied and said, oh no, it's definitely before March. So
soon, TM.
yeah, soon. Yeah, let me.
Soon, TM. They're not saying
I
a
would-
date. They are not saying a date for a very good reason. I mean, at
I would
PAX when I
like
was
to
helping
see-
out, they were like, no, it is
No.
soon.
They're not.
Like even with H1Z1, they were like, we're not giving a date out. They didn't tell me a date. I have no idea, and they were like, we're because they all know
And
they know timelines. They have relative timelines. But they were like, the fact that we have a build on the floor for like H1Z1, or the fact that we have this thing or this or that thing in Landmark should give you a good idea of what's coming and where we're at.
Yeah.
That's all the info you're gonna get. So
One other
until
thing.
we get like right before.
I think one other system is kind of a minor one, but a major one that's probably going to have to come in before open beta is the whole station handle character name thing. So they were talking about
Very
that in the
much
show, the idea that you can have whatever name you want for your character, but it's going to have the station handle or whatever before it. So when you're sending tells to people or someone's trying to send a message directly to you or trade with you in game, it'll show the full thing, but I'm not sure if that means you're only going to see the single name over their head unless you actually try to interact with them further. I think that's great because it definitely helps with the role playing, and yeah, everybody needs to be
it for
drizzed.
that. I like it for that.
That needs
I'm
to go
not
in
a fan of it.
open beta.
I'm still not a fan of it. I'm sorry. Like a lot of people disagree with me, but I'm not a fan of the fact that we have non-unique names. I'm perfectly okay with it with an EQ next. I'm not okay with it in unless this game moves way away from the creative side. I'm not a fan of it in something creative like this, unless you can see both names, because
Here's why I would
I've
want to
seen
have
it too much. I've seen it way too much in the art community, irregardless of what you do yourself, and it has nothing to do with taking things from swap meets or any of that kind of stuff. But like take Voidlust for example.
it kind of
Voidlust isn't
does.
playing. Someone is gonna come in and pretend to be Voidlust. And as someone
Yeah.
who is part of the entertainment industry, I'm a streamer, I'm an artist, I'm well known in Landmark. People's reputations have been ruined because of that. And that's why I'm not a fan of it. It is a very, very dangerous thing to walk down, and it's just for that aspect. Not for roleplay, not for any of that stuff. I'm totally cool with it with that. I love that idea, and which is why I really, really like it for friggin' EQN, but not so much for Landmark.
Well-
And it's not going to eliminate the name rush because everyone's going to rush for that second name, so they're still unique.
That's true, but I think a lot of us have
I want to be
already.
Noodlecat. No?
It's already been assigned for a lot of people. Or a lot of people have already assigned them. I think I've already assigned my station handle as something.
So have I.
So I definitely I should probably contact customer support and see about changing it. But yeah.
Well, they said no. He said you'll pick it when the first time you load it up after the system's in. That's what he said for Landmark. That's what they said today.
Once again, to
'Cause they
play
answered that
devil's
question.
advocate here, I think that there is a huge problem, whereas this exists, where somebody could create a character or an account named Noodlecat and make it Noodlecat Cat. And based on the general public, it's hard to discern whether or not this is truly Noodlecat or, you know, some sort of clone or whoever it may be, you know. And I really like the idea based on their roleplay dynamic. If you want to be named Steve, like anyone can be Steve. Steve is a popular name. We can be Steve.
Well, I don't know that
But
you'd
I
be
see
selling stuff as Steve. I think you'd be selling stuff as, you know,
Yeah, maybe it's
whatever
your
your
username
unique
Steve.
name is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, I don't expect it to be a huge portion of the population that does this. Of course it's not. It's just, I own my own business in art. I did conventions so much. I was part of that online art community, and I know there's, you know, the person who owns the, you know, that personality usually wins out in the end. But I'm sorry, it is hell to go through to prevent people from stealing your stuff. Not that, you know, they're going to do that in Landmark, because those things are already in place, but ruining your reputation. And think about it for someone like me, who's working on building up my, you know, streaming, and I'm looking at getting partnered eventually with Twitch. Other avenues of things to do with conventions and getting in with, you know, more of the industry side stuff. If someone goes and does something, and Twitch finds it, and I can't prove that's not me, you know,
No, even if
and
you
then I'm
could
screwed.
prove that that's you, let's say somebody creates a unique SOE handle called Noodle Kitty. You get Noodlecat, but somebody creates something called Noodle Kitty and impersonates you to an extent, whereas they are able to gain the system. Like, that is completely possible, and that exists as a problem, as I see it, because
And this is all speculation too. Like, I know a lot of people, like I said, you know,
yeah,
I do like the idea. I like the idea. I really, really, really do. And I don't know if this will even happen. I don't know. It's just, it's like,
I
just
really
a
like the
slippery road.
concept for
no,
a
it is
unique,
possible. I have to disagree with
non-disclaimer
you.
name.
I have to disagree with that. It is possible for that to happen. I have seen it happen. I have seen people's reputations completely destroyed, and them not get jobs, not get into conventions, and be kicked out of things and banned off of stuff based on someone else impersonating them.
Yeah.
Will that happen?
exactly.
I don't know
Like
if
I said,
that is
Noodle
something
Kitty,
that,
Noodle
you know,
Cat with two T's.
I don't know how easy it'll be
At
because we
first
don't have
glance,
a system yet.
It's hard to determine which one is which.
Noodle
If
cat with two
I
Ts.
type in Noodle Cat and somebody has Noodle Cat with two T's, I'm going to find both results. And that's
Oh, maybe not
unfair
with
to
Noodle Kitty.
someone.
Maybe not with Noodle Kitty. But like,
Well, Noodle Cat.
but I'm also
Noodle
not Noodle like
K-A-T
Noodle Cat
or
on
Noodle
every single thing.
K-A-T-T. Okay,
Right.
not necessarily you, but cereals or cereals. You know,
Serial with a C. Actually, perfect example. Giovanni, who's on Theory Forge. There's another Giovanni in game with G-I-O, Giovanni. Who is
based
you know,
on a
Viz
different
Gaming,
regional
he is
spelling of the name.
always
Sure,
always
represented as
not
someone
represented,
Mistaken.
but everyone always thinks that he's the Geo that does all the beautiful like dragon heads and the ships and stuff at Angel Bay. He's not that person.
Nope.
But everyone thinks he is.
Personally, I
because they
don't
see the
think
name.
Geo is quite a builder at all. He is a PVC or PvP centric person, and you know he's not
They're
much of a
totally
builder.
different people.
Exactly.
You know? And
yeah,
but they're both confused because they have similar spellings. You know.
Yeah.
that's exactly what I was getting at. And based on this, everyone can be Bob at base station name, or it will not be our station account name. I'm glad that they've made certain of that, because
yeah.
a lot of people don't
I
want to
was worried about
disclose their
that.
station name.
Yeah, no, they definitely don't want anybody's station names. They definitely say keep that private. Don't tell anybody. You know.
But that doesn't stop someone such as one of us as a Twitch persona being Noodlecat spelt with two T's or neurotoxin spelt with
There's many
NH
ways to incorrectly
or
spell
whatever.
neurotoxin.
Cereal spelt as the breakfast concoction, and being misrepresented. One of the first landmark contacts or contest, someone named Serial won. It was not me. It was a different variation of the spelling Serial, one for a post-industrial architecture, which was very similar for what I was going for, but they were better than me at it. They don't Twitch. They don't, like try to put themselves out as a member of the community, and maybe somebody mistook them for me. Like, they did beautiful work, much better than I can do currently. That's a problem.
Yeah. Well, and I
At
see
it-
it as
at
a
its
problem
base,
for
it's-
this game
That's a problem.
in particular because to this day there is still huge controversy over the streaming, over how the devs are interacting with players, which is only going to get brought up again with this new, dev, please, message us if you want to be on the show thing. It's a creative game. It's competitive. I don't care what anyone says. It will always be competitive because it's art. It's just how it is. I'd go out of my way to try to teach people and, be a positive side to it, but because it's so competitive, there are people who are going to do bad things to get that 15 seconds of fame, and they
Yeah.
want it, and they
Trolls
will
be
do
trolls.
it. Yeah, trolls will be
and that-
trolls.
I actually
it's just-
trolled. It was Melorn, David Bennett, who just left SOE to go back to back up to Seattle because I guess he was getting cooked down here or something. And kitty, I actually stole
There is no
his.
solution to similar names.
I
There
stole
isn't.
his character name in beta back when we had one of the character wipes. I was like, okay, it's him and somebody else whose names I want to get. I couldn't get the other one, but I was able to get his name. And then finally at SOE Live last year, it's like, yep, you remember when you couldn't get your name back in beta? That was this guy. Yeah. He appreciated that one. He's like, yeah, that was a pretty good troll.
Yeah, I mean, there is no
Serial, you
solution.
muted yourself. You're hilarious.
It's not, unfortunately. But the thing with the non-unique names, it just is, with my opinion, it just makes it a little bit easier for people to do awful things.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Right.
it's gonna
At this-
happen.
at-
Trolls are trolls. They will do stuff, but in my opinion, in a creative environment, why make it easier for them? That's how I feel.
At this point, it's more or less an homage, a joke, like we're tributing someone, or we're jokingly trying to play a troll on someone. But I could foresee in the eventual future, whereas someone on Landmark is making a decent living off of Player Studio with a name such as Noodlecat. We're just going to use you as an example, and they add an extra T to cat. When they search Noodlecat, it will add that extra T to the search results, and they will be able to find, when they're looking for you, they will be able to find other people's, stuff on Player Studio, and using you as a sort of name brand to, advertise and hype to the community.
Potentially,
their
but I believe
builds.
there's also a system where you can follow an individual and you'll just be going to their specific stuff, not the
You
stuff
can.
based on their name. So, people just need to, know to use that system. They just need to make it more intuitive. So I'm not actually as worried about that. I can definitely understand damage being done, and especially I would say the people that are the most susceptible to having their reputation ruined are not us live streamers, but people that don't stream, that don't tweet, that aren't on the forums, and they're just awesome builders that put in their Player Studio stuff. They're the ones who I feel like are probably the most exploitable because nobody knows them. And if
Because
nobody,
they
if
don't
nobody-
have a face to go with said name. Sure, Noodlecat,
And that
we
might be
know
completely
Noodlecat has
true.
an underscore at the end of her name. We
Yeah.
find her on Twitch, we look her up, we know where she's
The only
at.
other thing with me is a noodle store, and or a noodle stand in Cleveland.
So,
But you know,
sorry to
it may
use
be
a
possible.
US
People,
example all the
you know,
time.
people might look for the whole full name. We don't know yet. It's just we're not, you know, trying to piss anyone off, like, or anything like that.
But
But we're just
based on the
voicing
current
concerns.
Yeah, right.
based on the
Just
current
concerns.
search engine, if you were to type in Noodlecat, it would come up with Noodle
Tons of
Cafeteria
crap.
or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
because anything additional to Noodlecat will be displayed, and that could be potentially exploited, or somebody could attempt to exploit such a thing. They could
I'm
play
not saying
off
they need
of
to change the
your
system either. It's just
Things
what
to
I
consider.
see and what I'm concerned about,
It's-
and wondering what they might do to help us with if it did happen. And I believe they
sure.
would help, you know, because they are SOE and they've been
Definitely.
really, really, really awesome with keeping, you know, intellectual property and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, one of the better, you know, companies for that. It's just, you know, that those were my first thoughts and my first concerns, and that's solely based on experience with the community. So, or not with the, like, particularly the landmark community, but with, you know, the art community in general. So it's just wondering how easier or how more easy it will make something for
Yeah.
someone to do, and what people will do with it, because you're talking about also when we go into like open beta as well, which is probably closer to the time this will happen, and that's when you're going to get the droves of, you know, free to play people. We don't really have a lot of troll problems right now because you got to pay to play the
Sure.
game.
because we have to pay.
It's going to be a
play.
different environment when this goes free
We
to
have
play.
to
Well,
pay to test. Honestly,
okay.
we're paying to test, or that's the
There's-
implication that they're
There's
putting
one
out
other
there.
thing though. I'm pretty sure when things go back up with open beta after all the wipes and everything, that the trailblazers, the people who have spent $100 or 33 when it was on sale that one time, will be able to
I
get
wish.
in on that early access and be able to get the
That
name,
1
you know,
week.
have the name they
okay,
want and be able to, you know.
Dig says it's November. It's slated for November 12th. So
Which one?
that's not going to be early. That's not going to be early access. The name change.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, exactly. Where is that concerned? The name change when we go from a non-specific neutral in-game name accompanied by an account name. Is there going to be someone who tries to come out and say, hey, I'm Neurotoxin, hey, I'm Noodlecat, hey, I'm Searial, or whatever, and how are they going to support pre-existing accounts, steady community members, acquiring their name? How is that going to play out? Because I see that as being potentially extremely dangerous. Not that I'm popular enough for people to try to impersonate me, but someone is.
Well, I mean, if people know who you are, then it's not a problem. If they don't know who you are, but they're looking for you, that's the only time I think that there would maybe be a chance that they would have a hard time potentially finding you. I'm not, you know, other than people not being able to spell neurotoxin, which is a thing. A lot of people can't
it
spell
is.
neurotoxin, so
Sure.
you know.
There's a few times I've put the U before the E because I do sometimes. Sure. But
Senor
you know, let's
Neurotoxin.
say the day that
I didn't permit you like
Unique
4 times, and you got
station
timed out 4
names.
times because of it.
let's say the day unique station names go in game, somebody acquires neurotoxin 3 minutes before you do. How are they going to react to such a situation? Are they going to be able to admit a customer
Call
service request saying,
yourself Smoke
hey,
Jumper."
I'm neurotoxin. I've been neurotoxin on the internets for the last several years. Give me neurotoxin. That guy is not me.
No. I don't know if I would go to customer
I don't think they
support.
will.
I think I would email Brass. That's
Right.
where I would
Personally,
I'd,
okay.
I'd go and email Dave.
maybe some of us more profound streamers might be able to have some pull with inside the company
But
and be
not,
able to be
yeah, I
like,
can
hey,
understand. I can understand how that could definitely. But I think it's one of those things where it's like, it doesn't really matter as much now, but if you want to make sure you get the name you really want, you can still buy the Trailblazer pack and, guarantee that
Well,
one.
if
and
it's
fight with all
wait,
the other trailblazers trying to get your
wait.
name on day one when we go to open
Yeah, but it's
beta
saying that the name
or
change will be on the
the
12th.
name
So
change
That's
system.
when the name
Yeah,
change
name change
goes in.
system is on the 12th.
But I don't know
yeah.
if we keep those when the characters get wiped.
Yeah, is that
Well, it's
wiped on
account.
open beta to close
It's
or
your account
closed
name,
beta
and
to
your
open
account
beta?
stuff does not get wiped.
Oh, okay then.
So it's everything that's attached to your player templates and all that stuff. So it's just gonna be the extra characters you make. So
I
it's
believe you,
probably
and I
gonna
would
be on
hope
the
so.
12th.
But
But the
things
question also
could
is that
change.
if we pick our station handle now, like I already picked my station handle, will we get like maybe? This is a good question for the devs too.
No,
If we pick our station handle
is
now,
not our unique landmark name. My station
right?
handle
But
is
will
12
it lock
years
it
old.
in for it? Like
I
if
hope
we already
so,
have
but
our
that
accounts?
doesn't
Like, will
state.
we get the
That's
option
what I'm
use this
talking
one that's
about.
already locked in, or you can make a new one?
I'm hoping we'll be able to get a new one, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I
No,
would
I'm saying
hope
have the
so.
option
It
either
seems to
or. So
be-
it's already locked in, but we can also make the option to change it, which then would free up this one.
Right. Well, what you're saying, Noodlecat, is I've been Serial for the last 10 years, as far as SOE is concerned. Can, as soon as we go to landmark unique address names, not character names, can I have Serial? I don't think so. I think that it's when that happens, the day that that sort of system goes live, it's going to be first come, first serve. And if, for whatever reason, somebody decides they want to be Serial, they are. And therefore, I have to choose something else. As far as our unique ID is concerned, but like I said, my SOE login name has been Serial for 12 years now. That
See, then you
doesn't
have the
mean that I
opposite
have
problem.
Serial as my landmark address name.
Like,
It's
and this
first
applies
come,
really
first
only
served.
to like the people who are decently well known in the community, like those of us on live streams
Exactly.
and stuff like that. So if we don't get our name and then we have to pick something else or some variation, then we become, oh, you're fake. That's not really you because it's not
Yeah.
the real name.
See, that's where
So then you have
legendary
the opposite
neurotoxin.
problem.
That's actually where legendary neurotoxin came from. Is that in Planet Side 1? Oh, there's already a neurotoxin. No problem. I'll be legendary neurotoxin. Then pretty much that's the standard. If neurotoxin's already taken, I go with legendary neurotoxin.
Well, we can make it official beforehand. We can
Sure.
we can be Neurocat and Toxic Noodle. There we go.
But what's to say somebody doesn't pick Epic Legendary Neurotoxin as their screen name, and when they search
Epic legendary.
whatever the case may be, but when they search for Legendary Neurotoxin, that's included in the keyword search. It includes Epic Legendary Neurotoxin, and their whatever build is higher station cache value, it appears first on the list. There's always that sort of mechanic, whereas somebody could try to impersonate you. And those in the know would know, oh my god, that's not Reese, that's not neurotoxin. We're not going to deal with this shit. But
Unless
someone
Neuro
else
couldn't get his own name.
someone else will just simply, be like, hey, I just met Neurotoxin. I want to look him up and support him. And they click that and they click whatever the first thing is. It might not necessarily be you. And once again, I agree. I think that there's good ways they could work out the unique station
I
ID,
bet they're probably
not
gonna
station handle.
give us the chance to grandfather over the name we have right now. When the system goes in, it's like you said,
I
Noodlecat.
hope
Either
That would be
you're
good.
already assigned the
I think they
station
should do
handle you've
that.
already assigned, or the character name you've
Scrolls for
already
Legendary
assigned.
Neurotoxin.
But I would hate
Yeah.
I would hate to see, because of time zone differences or whatever the situation may be, someone happens to get to Searial or Legendary Neurotoxin or Noodlecat before
Okay,
one
what
of
Diggs is
us,
saying is what I was
and
asking
therefore they
earlier.
are permanently secured that name. That would be terrible.
Because what Diggs is saying is that Trailblazers get to choose their station handle now, but Dave said that when it goes live, we have to pick our name then. And that's what I was asking is if we are Trailblazers who can pick our station handle on our accounts, which I've already done, is that the one that gets moved over? Because they didn't answer that. That's what I was asking for.
Yeah,
Because if that's the case, I don't have to worry about anything. But if
I
it's
would
not the
hope
case,
so.
then
I would definitely
yeah.
hope
So I
so,
think that's
but
what I
to
was
my
wondering.
understanding, that's not what it is. When the new naming system goes live, it will be a first come, first serve sort of scenario. And therefore, if your login with SOE is Noodlecat, that does not necessarily reserve the landmark last name, station name, sort of public profile name, whatever they end up calling it, as Noodlecat. That does not reserve it for you. It reserves it for whoever is first come, first serve on this new naming database server.
Well,
And once again, like I say, I'm playing devil's advocate
you know,
here.
let's actually, this might be a good thing. Maybe we should start up a Reddit post or a post on the forums and ask them specifically how it's going to
Yeah.
work and give some feedback
Tweet
before
to
it
'em,
goes
something.
in. But it is definitely time to wrap up the show. We are 4 minutes away, I think, from being, in the
The
beyond
2 hour mark.
2 hour mark. So, gonna get things finished up here and then pass it along. Are either of you gonna be streaming after this? Otherwise, I'm gonna start looking up a raid target.
I am
I
not
would
because my computer is still not
love
fixed.
to stream some Landmark. I've been
All
working
right,
on a
Serial will be going to
PvP
you
build.
then.
Yeah,
So,
if you guys want to come over, we'll play some PvP. I would love to smash some heads in, shoot some arrows, blast some fucking gravity bombs. Let's do it.
all right. So everyone, pop over to Serial's channel, get that fired up while we wrap up here. And of
Most
course,
definitely.
wrap up time. I am Legendary Neurotoxin. I stream a lot. Look at my offline page or my profile page to see the schedule. Some like 44 to 45 and a half hours, and just a busy person.
Yes, you are.
Noodlecat, why don't you let everybody know what you're up to and where to find you?
You can find me on Twitter and on Twitch. I am Noodlecat with an underscore at the end, just Noodlecat and Landmark. Or you can follow me from my comment and chat. I stream a ton. I stream at least 6 days a week for many, many hours. So come say hi. Be awesome. And working with Neuro for the Who's Gaming Now stuff. So it's a cool
Yep.
time.
WGN.
Yep. All right, Serial, you've got
Yep.
one
Lots of good
minute.
times.
Give us your wrap up.
All right, I'm Serial. You can find me at Serial slash or twitch.tv/Serial. That's where I'm at. And you can try to find me at YouTube. I don't exist there yet. If you want to try to take my name before I can claim it, go right ahead. Do it. Claim it. Somebody go create a YouTube/Serial account before I can, and you will steal my name from me. Otherwise, I am going to go some PvP live on Landmark and do some streaming. You guys can catch me over there at twitch.tv/Serial. So that's all I got to say for now.
All right, see you folks over there. Have a good one. This has been Live Feature Rant, and I will see you folks next time.
See you
Good
guys.
times all the times. See you later, guys.